So let's get into services marketplace. There's a big challenge here for MSPs as well, which is battling the unscheduled downtime, the cumbersome warranty procurement process, not only cumbersome, but absolutely a terrifying and boring process. And of course, the inefficient or non-existent IT asset disposal.
Yep, absolutely. Let's get into this one.
So there's a number of critical challenges here as well. One of them, of course, critical hardware failures come out of nowhere. We talked about the bathtub curve earlier, that the risk of failure increases over time. There's a painful warranty procurement process. Most MSPs have to do this, on a case-by-case or asset-by-asset basis with their distributors, and this is just not a fun process to do. Not only that, but internally, the MSPs typically have a bottlenecked quoting process, which further compounds the issue. And on top of all of that, most clients of MSPs are also grossly underestimating the risks that exist in their environment. The seatbelt exercise that Dan Fox was talking about earlier, it's the same idea. Like, the clients just don't know that they don't need the security, or that they need the security, because they've been running fine without it. But a lot of the world underneath has been moving a lot faster, and so the conditions are changing, and we just haven't done a great job of communicating that type of risk. Now, the workstation downtime is also an issue. In workstations, we see an interesting issue with how long they stay in service as well. We'll talk about that metric in a minute. But this improves, or maybe causes an issue with customer satisfaction. It prevents growth opportunities for the MSP, and it's going to strain your resources internally. Anytime a workstation fails, you got to take a tech off the service desk and send them on site, roll the truck, all that stuff. And so it's a real challenge, I think, overall.
Yeah, it is. And then where we go from there is, of course, a pile of those failed workstations in the back office of your MSP, and it may be a pallet, it may be a box, it may be a whole closet full of stuff. But what we wind up with is this asset disposal problem, right? And I had this hand crank hard drive breaker at my MSP, and when everybody had a bad day, we'd go bust a couple hard drives and kind of clean things up. But what we wind up with is this scenario where it wastes time. It creates an issue where there's data at risk of getting out of the building that in a way that we can't control it and can't maintain it. So we've got this issue where we're just not doing data destruction and machine retirements in the way that they should be done.
We just heard from a partner at PAX 8 Beyond here this week that their local asset disposal company had said to them, just put everything in a box and leave it outside on the sidewalk, and we'll come by and get it sometime throughout the day. Well, of course, this is exactly how data breaches happen. Yeah. This is where hard drives get pulled, and with customer information. And not only is this an issue from a just privacy of information perspective, but this is also now causing fines. It's costing businesses money, their reputation, and there's really a big difficulty in coming back from all of that when this kind of issue happens. Now, I promise you a stat, and here it is. The stat is that for the average MSP that has workstations in their fleet, over 750 of those, which is about 63% of their fleet, is over 4 years old. So what does this mean in the majority of cases? It means there's sort of the increase in the productivity decline over time. End users are not happy. The MSPs are getting the complaints, but not often are those complaints making their way back into the strategy conversations to try and address those issues.
Well, and we see the same trend in Lifecycle Insights data. And the thing that's missing from this slide that's really important to this trend is how much data, how many new assets did your customers buy in 2020 and 2021 that are now just 3 and 4 years old that are about to get added to this pile, right? They're 3.5 years old. They're about to go into this metric. So I think we're going to get to a point where we see 75+% of assets that are more than 4 years old if we don't get on top of this problem.
Well, and I don't think the supply chain issues are going to get any better, to be perfectly honest. I think we'll continue to see constraints, and so people are going to have to stockpile. MSPs should start offering sparing programs for their customers to keep stuff in stock. But even those assets will also be aging. And so by the time they go out, they're not even at the current technology standards that most customers expect.
Right.
But this is where I think some of the services really play a role, because we've been talking about Workstation Insurance, and our partners have been selling, between warranty services and Workstation Insurance, over $10.2 million in 2022 of these services to clients. So there's clearly a revenue stream and opportunity for MSPs to capitalize on here. And this is the kind of thing that we want to make sure everybody's doing, not only because it's an opportunity for your MSP growth, but also because it's just a better part of the ALM, or Asset Lifecycle Management process overall. So what we see it as the average opportunity per partner in Lifecycle Manager is about $1.3 million, some of which is a hardware refresh component, and some of which is the extended services capability. So it's warranty services on servers and networks, or it's Workstation Assurance on workstations, or our newest program, which is IT asset disposal. And so the Workstation Insurance program we've talking about is now a revamped version of what we used to offer for workstations, which includes now accidental damage and failed hardware device replacement. This was by far the biggest request we've been getting for years that people wanted us to offer in the Workstation product.
As somebody that supported a lot of K-12 environments, I can tell you accidental damage protection is something that has a little bit of value.
Well, and so it should be no surprise that the average partner is replacing a ton of machines every month. Globally across our partner base, we have over 125,000 workstations being replaced every month, which is a staggering number. But this also brings us to this disposal conversation, because where are all these assets going?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they're sitting in the back room of a lot of MSPs these days, right? We heard a great story yesterday about a partner who, what was it, 365 assets or 369 assets, something like that, that they're sending back on Workstation Insurance, or I'm sorry, on IT asset disposal to get out of their building. I can only imagine how much floor space that was taking up.
I mean, so why has asset disposal been a problem? And it's pretty clear to us. I mean, I've had this issue in my own MSPs that the process was not automated. It's difficult to standardize it because not every client wants to let go of their stuff right away. But you leave stuff around and it creates security vulnerabilities and of course an environmental impact. And I think the environmental impact is an area that allows MSPs to bring conversations into their clients to talk about, because this is a real issue that's affecting a lot of businesses today.
Yeah, you know, that was one that really hurt me. I just hated to see all that stuff going to landfill. So we'd break the hard drive and then everything would just sit in the back and wait. And we had piles and piles and piles of it. And that goes to this stat here that, you know, IT asset disposal winds up being 70% of all toxic waste. That's a pretty scary number. So it's awesome that we're getting that stuff out and getting it properly recycled and dealt with.
So how does IT asset disposal work? We take your order right from the Lifecycle Manager platform. We give you a label to print. You box that up, send it in to us, and we'll let you track the process of disposal. And then we give you a certificate of destruction to NIST 800 standards so that you can be peaceful at mind and at night and sleep tight that everything is being handled properly. But more importantly, you can communicate that back to your clients as well. Ultimately, this provides a much more environmentally responsible way of handling the disposal of assets. And for each one of these things that you do, whether it's a warranty on a server or network, a workstation assurance coverage, or IT asset disposal, we'll also plant a tree thanks to our partnership with Veritree, helping increase that impact. So we even have resources for you available if you want to find ways to communicate that in a white label way to your customers. Let us know, send us a note, we'll get the team to reach out and share some of those resources with you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you take the entire coverage of these products and services, and you can see how we're really striving to try and deliver this entire Assy framework across all our products and services, whether it's to automate all your processes and collection of data, standardize your processes internally, driving operational maturity, strengthen those relationships with clients, improving the conversations on a day-to-day basis, and lastly, of course, increasing that revenue, profitability, and just overall growth for your MSP. And so the products show up in all these different lanes.
Awesome.
So what does it mean to you right now? Emerging MSPs, you really have to centralize and clean your data. You want to start developing that asset lifecycle management process. And you want to start thinking about how you productize these warranty services, because the reality is we're not famous for being great at sales or great at helping our clients understand our new offerings. And so you really have to start thinking about that and just why it's important to incorporate it into your process. And of course, asset lifecycle management is super important now for cybersecurity as well. So you want to include it really proactively and start communicating with your clients without exceptions. Try to remove all those exceptions from the process so you can start to increase the coverage. And for those scaling and enterprise MSPs, you want to enforce this type of asset service as part of your agreements, not make any exceptions at all, but obviously continue to monitor and continually improve your own process and ALM offering across your entire stack.
That's awesome. And you've got a partner spotlight to kind of highlight this, right?
Yes. And so keep IT defended, hit that link. We'll share it in the chat. And by the way, a shout out to our entire team that's behind the scenes helping logistically support this event. There's a lot of people involved in helping run this successfully. So thanks to all of you. Check out Keep IT Defended. They tell the story about how they created a profitable revenue stream in just 3 days, thanks to our services marketplace.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap up this product marketplace story.
Yes, I mean, we've talked about our 5 different swim lanes, different products in different areas that we are truly committed to helping MSPs improve their growth, profitability, and revenue. And so we talked about asset lifecycle management, VCIO, QBR, customer success. We addressed the different services in the services marketplace from warranty services, Workstation Insurance, and IT asset disposal, backup monitoring, business intelligence, which is becoming absolutely critical. You can't run a business without having data to make decisions. And lastly, our security and compliance product control map. So I think there's a ton of really great information here. Hit us in the chat if you'd like to see a demo of any of these products, or if you'd like to talk to any of our security experts on any of these conversations. We're more than willing to get into this conversation and help you understand what you need to do next and how to drive that next stage for your MSP.